Hi everyone. Okay, yes, I think I'm live now. Lovely. So, welcome back to our live stream session. This live stream session. Those of you who can join me. Tonight I'm going to do a mountain meditation. So, if you haven't done this before, it's not one we do so often on the mindfulness course, although we do it on the day retreat. It's a visualization practice, which is quite unusual amongst mindfulness meditation practices. We don't usually engage so much in visualization. But the purpose of the mountain meditation is to help us to get in touch with a sense of groundedness and stability and strength, just to sort of bring that out more in our practice, in our sitting practice. And then also that can spread out into the rest of our lives as well. We can return to that sense of mountain-like stability in our daily lives as well. So I'll just wait a couple of more moments to see if anyone else is going to join us. Obviously, if not, you can always catch it. If you come partway through this, you can always decide whether you want to watch it later on and practice with it later on. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick check on YouTube and make sure this is all working. Let's just see. Okay, yes, as usual, a little bit behind where I am at the moment. Okay, so let's begin. So the best posture for this practice is probably a sitting posture rather than a lying down posture. And especially sitting on cushions or a meditation stool, so being quite close to the ground. But that's not really important. So if you're sitting in a chair to do this practice, that's also absolutely fine. But there's something about sitting on the ground that obviously kind of helps us to feel more, perhaps a bit more thoroughly grounded than we might do otherwise. But it's not an option for many people, so a chair is also good. Right, so let's set up our posture. This will, as usual, be about a 20 to 25 minute practice. We'll see how it goes, how it unfolds. So, so coming to your seat, adopting your posture, sitting with your feet flat on the ground if you're sitting in a chair, and perhaps slightly forward in your seat so that your back is away from the back of the chair and self-supporting. If you're sat on cushions or a stool, just making sure that you can sit easily upright, that you're not finding that you're sinking or slouching, which might be a sign that you need a little bit of extra height. And if you're sitting cross-legged, just seeing if your knees are in contact with the ground, and if they're not, perhaps putting something underneath them to support your knees, so you're not having to hold them up through the practice, so you can let go and relax. So closing your eyes when you're ready, or choosing to keep them open but softly focused at a point in front of you. And yes, just tuning in. Let's just tune in to our bodies, to our experience in this moment. So feeling the contact with the ground through the feet, through the folded legs or crossed legs, in contact with the ground. And feeling the contact of the buttocks with the cushions or the chair or the stool. and letting go into that contact, imagining in that mountain-like way that you have a really stable base, kind of rooted into the ground. And then out of that stable base, your upper body can be sort of gently uplifted. The spine and the back rising up out of the stable groundedness of the lower body. And perhaps having that sense of uplift in the crown of the head. So this is a bit like the top of the mountain, stretching up towards the sky. And then checking into your shoulders, seeing if they are quite relaxed or still if there's some tension there, and perhaps releasing that a little bit. Not forcing, just kind of inviting the shoulders to release and broaden. And then seeing what's happening in the facial muscles. Maybe there's a bit of a frown or some clenching in the jaw or tension around the eyes or the mouth. So just softening all of that if we can. Letting that go. And coming also to the front of the upper body, the chest, the heart area, the belly, and just softening in that area too. So we can be more open and receptive to our moment by moment experience in this practice. Okay, so coming now to the breath. And having too a sense of dignity. Mountains are quite majestic, dignified, strong. So perhaps we can tap into a little of that spirit in our posture. Our own stability and strength sitting here. And coming to the breath. Just contacting a sense of the breath in the body. We're a breathing mountain, a living, breathing mountain. Feeling that sense of movement and expansion and stretch on the in-breath. And the relaxation on the out-breath. Resting our awareness on the breath. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just simply being with our breath and our body, moment by moment. With a sense of being complete and whole in this practice, in ourselves. And our posture reflects that sense of wholeness. So now I'd like to invite you to bring to mind an image of a mountain. So it might be a mountain that you already know, are familiar with, that you've been to or seen in photographs. Or it might be more of an imaginary mountain. However, let yourself drink in its magnificence, its beauty. You might not have a strong visual image of your mountain. It might be more of a felt sense of the mountain, and that's okay. Just contacting a sense of the mountain. Its overall shape. Its lofty peak and the large base rooted into the earth. And the sides of the mountain, whether they're quite steep or more gently sloping, especially down towards the base of the mountain. Having some sense of the massiveness of the mountain, its majesty, whether seen from afar or close up. Very beautiful. Maybe there's snow on the peak of the mountain, or maybe also on the north-facing sides, the crevices and gullies. Maybe there are plateaus and lakes, mountain lakes, and trees reaching up the sides of the mountain, or waterfalls cascading down, mountain streams, meadows full of high alpine type flowers, and lakes reflecting the sky, the sun and the moon and the stars. So just for a few moments more, imagining this mountain. Remembering to breathe as well. And now when you're ready, bringing the mountain inside, into your own body, so that you and the mountain become one. So that you also share in this sense of massiveness and stillness, strength, stability. So your head is the lofty peak of the mountain, and your shoulders and arms and upper body are the sloping sides of the mountain, and your hips and legs and feet are the base of the mountain, in contact with the earth, reaching down into the earth. And yet you, of course, are a breathing mountain, vital and alive, but unwavering in your inner stillness, completely what you are, whole in yourself, beyond words or thoughts or ideas of what that might mean. So you, as the mountain, are aware of the progress of the sun rising in the east, tracking across the sky and setting in the west. Sometimes you're bathed in the light of the sun, sometimes clothed in shadow or in the shade of the sun. So you're aware of the light and the shadows and the colours dancing and playing across the surface of your mountain, of you. And you're aware too of all the life and the activity on the mountain, the people who come to visit, the creatures that live on the mountain, the goats, sheep, squirrels, and the birds that circle around, nest in the sides of the mountain, finding shelter and sources of food. So you're nurturing the mountain too, supporting life. And you sit through the whole of the night and the day, strong and unchanging. And also through all the seasons and the different types of weather. So in the spring, the ice melts, the snow melts, and the streams gush down the mountainside in a torrent. Greenness comes back to the mountain, and the trees and the lower slopes and the meadows. And people perhaps return who've been away during the winter. And other creatures too, birds and other beasts that have been hibernating. And flowers begin to grow. But even as this progresses into the summer, and more lush, verdant growth, more visitors, more creatures, there can still be quite dramatic changes in the weather. One moment blazing sunshine, the next cloudy, foggy, storms, lightning, thunder. And it's all changing moment by moment on the mountain. In the autumn, the leaves begin to turn colour on the trees, and a chill returns to the mountain's earth, and maybe there are the first flurries of snow on the peak, and more storms, more rain, and things begin to batten down for the winter, and the return of the snow and the ice, and the sense of stillness at times in the midst of winter, and at other times howling winds, storms, and freezing cold. So through all of this, the mountain simply sits, being with the changes. And in this way, we can also sit through all the changes of our life as we sit in meditation. Thoughts come and go, emotions come and go, physical sensations, sometimes pleasant, sometimes difficult. All this can come and go in our practice. And we just practice sitting like a mountain, through it all, bearing with it, being with it. And even in our lives, we experience this kind of constant change. Different moods come and go, different events, people, sadness, joy, light and darkness in our lives. And just like the mountain gets gradually changed by the action of wind and rain and ice and snow and sun, so we too begin to change over time. And yet there is that inner strength. So perhaps by becoming like the mountain, you can link into the mountain's strength and stability. We can use the mountain-like energies to help us to meet each moment and difficulty and challenge in our lives with some degree of equanimity and clarity. So this is the weather of our lives. So in some senses, we can't have so much control over it, but we can control perhaps more how we encounter that change, the changing weather of our lives. And finding in our meditation practice a deeper stillness and wisdom. So, this is what mountains can teach us. So now beginning to let go of your sense of being the mountain. In the imaginary sense anyway, you can still sit with a kind of stability of posture and strength of posture. And just coming back now to the regular breath. And we'll sit for a while longer, just simply following the breath. And perhaps remembering that we can always access the strength of the mountain in us at any time. Now we've visited this place, we can always come back to it. But if this hasn't worked for you, that's okay too. Simply we can sit with the breath and awareness of our bodies as we breathe. So being with each in-breath fully, each out-breath fully. And when thoughts visit and carry our attention away with them, no problem at all, just when we notice that's happened, we can let go, come back to the breath. Sitting in wholeness, stillness, but very definite aliveness as well. With the ever-changing patterns of emotions and thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, and everything else that comes into our awareness, arising, moving through and fading. So just being open to our experience, sitting here in each moment for a little while longer, resting in it. As we bring the practice to a close, just gently bringing yourself back with the sounds of the bell. Okay. So, I see a few of you have joined me, which is great. It's nice to know that you're sitting at home practicing too. And yes, there's a bit of an opportunity to ask any questions about that practice, particularly if you haven't done it before. You might be thinking, oh, that's a little bit different. I'll just see where you're at on the YouTube. Yeah, not too far behind. So yes, any comments or questions? Very gratefully received, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So I hope that's been worthwhile for you. And yes, of course, like the mountain, we don't know what sort of weather we're going to be going through. So if you had nice, sunny, pleasant weather, that was great. But it's also okay if it was a bit more stormy, a bit more difficult. So yes, also, if you'd like to make any requests for particular practices, you could also put that in the live chat or in the comments later under the recording. Okay, so wishing you all a good week, and maybe I'll see some of you at the drop-in on Thursday at St Catherine's Village Hall in Guildford. If you don't know where that is and you'd like to come along, just also you can contact me in the comments below. And yeah, otherwise I will perhaps see you. I don't literally see you, but perhaps you'll be able to join in next Monday with the Mindfulness Monday next week. Okay, have a good evening and a good week.